Welcome everybody. We're at the Efpa 2022 edition here in Flores, and Walid, Azar, Atallah, co-manager of the Thematics Subscription Economy Fund of Natixis, is joining me for an interview. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, thank you.
So first of all, let me just kick off with your workshop. It just ended a few minutes ago. So what did you talk about?
Well, the main topics that we aborted was mainly how we at Thematics, we define strategy, what's interesting for us to find in a strategy, namely our philosophy and how do we apply it on our various strategies that we have within the Thematics house. And within this philosophy, we have identified four main pillars. The first being we need to find trends that are secular, that are long-term trends on which we base our themes. Basically, when we talk about secular trends, it's important because this way we know that the theme you have been trying to construct won't fade over the next couple of years, but will last over a span of 5, 10, even 20 years. And those secular trends are basically changes in demographic, technological improvement or advancement, scarcity of resources, and even globalization or deglobalization. And this is basically what we tried touching upon. And upon that, we have identified several consumption-related themes, because today the main theme was changes in consumer behavior or new ways of consuming, and we have identified several themes that are underpinned by those changes in consumer behavior. And those themes are basically the subscription economy, the wellness strategy, and also the safety strategy.
Subscription economy, like this one, could you elaborate on what kind of business would you like in the current environment when it comes to subscription economy?
Yeah, maybe starting by defining what is subscription, because subscription, we always tend to mix apparently what are subscription. But the idea is we try to capitalize on the companies that monetize their products and services through a subscription. And basically subscription are everywhere within the B2B space, within the B2C space. And they are interesting for us, first of all, as consumers, and second of all, as investors, because they provide what we call a win-win situation. For the user of a subscription, he would have a long-term, ongoing relationship with the vendor, services that are ongoing, updates that are recurring. And from the vendor point of view, what is interesting is this recurring nature of revenue. So the relationship you have with the clients doesn't end when you sell a product, but it ongoes throughout the lifetime of this relationship. And this recurring revenue that you're going to generate through this subscription is basically going to provide you with what we call visibility. And visibility, why is it interesting? Because it would help us become, as a company, more efficient in the way we invest our capital, more efficient in how we target our investment for growth. And also this proximity we have with our clients would enable us to listen more to them, to innovate for them, and would translate in a higher profitability over the long run. And I guess the second question, you asked me what kind of businesses we like in the current environment. I'm going to pick out some on the consumer side and others on the enterprise side. And when we look at the actual environment, we have actually inflation, we have consumption power that is, shrinking. So we like businesses called club warehouses, companies such as Costco, BJ Wholesales. Maybe we define basically club warehouses as being huge supermarkets where you can buy everything from food, fresh food, apparel, electronics, even travel. You can even program your travel through those companies. But what's interesting is for you to be able to have access towards those club warehouses, you need to pay a subscription. And an interesting fact is that BJ and Costco do less than 2 to 3% of their sales based on subscription. But when you look at profitability, it's more than 50–55%. And those companies provide high value for the customers because they have lower prices. And this has translated into higher membership figures, higher retention rate. And this is why we like those kind of businesses. And maybe on the enterprise side, we have been focusing on what we call businesses that are mission critical. Take as an example MSCI, take as an example FactSet. These are, for us in the industrial industry, for instance, these are tools that are indispensable if you want to do our job on a day-to-day basis. These companies have really high retention rate, really high pricing power, a capacity to drive their margins even in economic downturns. They're not going to see a recession. They might see a slight slowdown in terms of sales, but these are the companies that we are really affectionate about during this kind of market environment.
Well, that's very interesting. So that's the reason actually why you think they are extremely, how can I say, fit for this moment. in current environment, which is probably defined by an imminent recession.
Exactly. If a simple example, the latest recession we had was in the year 2020 after the COVID pandemic started. And if you look more broadly at the subscription economy universe, in terms of sales, we didn't see this downturn that's enormous because those companies kept the relationship with their customers because those companies are really essential. Whereas during an actual recession that might happen today, you might see some posts of more discretionary spending decelerate, even go into recession for some companies, whereas within the subscription economy universe, there are several ways, several levers that the companies can trigger in order to keep their cohort, and that's what the most important thing for them is, to keep their cohort engaged within the company's ecosystem.
Right, you also mentioned some other keywords like new trends, but I just wanted to focus on one topic in particular, next generation consumption funds. Would you elaborate, and what's the latest in terms of your products?
The latest we launched is actually a wellness fund. So we went from the idea, and we were inspired actually from the pandemic. We know that after the pandemic, there was a global consciousness that was geared toward wellness. Everybody understood the importance of wellness. And this is what's interesting is that newer generation were more conscious about it. I'm talking about the millennials or even the generation Z. But after the pandemic, we felt it was a global phenomenon. What we mean by wellness, it's all about preventing. It's all about living the longest and the healthiest possible. And an interesting stat that we might use is that more than 10%, roughly 11% of the global GDP is geared towards curing, whereas just a fraction, around 1 to 2%, is geared toward prevention. And we feel that there's a catch-up effect that's gonna occur. And when we talk about wellness, maybe the motto here is a healthy mind and a healthy body. And this really shows the angle that we try to look at the strategy from. It's really the wellness in the body and also the wellness in the mind. And we have identified several underlying also trends and several underlying sectors that will help us capitalize on this change or on this global consciousness with regards to wellness that we have seen today.
Right. Thank you very much. Walid Azar Atallah, co-manager of the Thematics Subscription Economy Fund of Natixis. Thank you for joining us and have a great day.
Thank you.
That's all from the Efpa 2022 meeting here in Flores.